Napoleon Dynamite, a beautiful cinematic canvas of social quirkiness. This 2004 movie was an indie film that definitely went a long way. The story focuses on the character Napoleon Dynamite, a high school student who likes potato tots, as in he really likes them. We explore his day-to-day life of school and his friendships, such as his best friend Pedro, who he tries to help in a class president campaign, and Deb, a shy girl who he befriends, as well as other people in his life like his brother Kip and highly questionable Uncle Rico. Now, I would focus on the fact that Napoleon Dynamite is a socially awkward kid, but really, everyone in this movie is socially awkward. And really, that's all there is to it. Yep, that's your plot for this evening, and it's really brilliant for it. Despite appearing to sound mundane, this movie is still unlike no other. It's a unique movie unto itself, with its own set of rules and identity, and well, the whole world fell in love with it, and even to this day, people still can't get enough of Napoleon Dynamite. By the way, here in Australia, when I was growing up, potato tots or tater tots were actually called potato gems. True story. So, Napoleon Dynamite, 10 things, let's check it out. And hopefully we can all gain a greater appreciation of ligers. Number 10, based on a short film. Napoleon Dynamite is the creation of director Jared Hess and actor Jon Heder. Its origins go back 2 years before the movie's release in 2002, when Hess and Heder were film students at Brigham Young University, where they made a short film called Palooka, which was an early prototype of Napoleon Dynamite, where Heder plays a teenager called Seth, who skips school to meet up with his friends Pedro and Gil, where they try to buy a lottery ticket and a wig for Gil. And the short film concludes with Seth heading to a future Farmers of America contest. You know, a sort of basic meanderings of these teenagers. The film stood at 9 minutes long and was shot in black and white on 16mm. The following year it was screened at Sundance Film Festival, where producer Jeremy Kuhn convinced director Jared Hess to make a feature film based on Palooka. And from there, the journey of turning this short film into Napoleon Dynamite had started. Number 9, origins of the title. The title of Napoleon Dynamite is definitely distinctive, and it does grab you. I mean, it's like, Napoleon Dynamite! Yep, you officially have my attention. So director Jared Hess abandoned the title of Palooka and the character name Seth in order to make way for Napoleon Dynamite. However, where did this title come from? Well, according to the Yardbarker.com, Hess got the title from a guy that he met at Illinois when he was doing missionary work. I guess the name just stood out to Hess, so he decided to use it for his movie. There was one teeny tiny problem though. The name Napoleon Dynamite wasn't entirely original, as Napoleon Dynamite was also a pseudonym that Elvis Costello used in the 80s. Hess would refer to this as, quote, a pretty embarrassing coincidence, and would say that he had no idea that the name had previously been used by Elvis Costello. The Yardbarker further explains that Elvis Costello was skeptical with the whole name thing being a coincidence. Kind of like he was calling foul on it a bit. Okay, look, it may not be original, but the guy who named his musical act Elvis didn't exactly have an original name either. Number 8, casting possibilities. So the script for Napoleon Dynamite was taken to several casting directors, so this beast could get cast. According to Hess, a lot of the casting directors didn't like the script, as they found it too weird and didn't like the character of Napoleon Dynamite. Yeah, it sounds like they just couldn't figure it out. At one stage, it was suggested that Jake Gyllenhaal be cast as the title lead of Napoleon Dynamite, and, well, he was a rising star at that time, but Jared Hess wanted Jon Heder, who played the part in the short film, to play the lead in the theatrical movie. Apparently, Hedda was only paid $1,000 for his efforts for starring in the film. When it came to the creepy Uncle Rico, Jason Lee and Vincent Gallo were considered, but John Grease got the part. Brad Garrett auditioned to play the martial arts instructor Rex, but that part went to Office Space actor Diedrich Bader. Other castings include Efren Ramirez as Pedro, Aaron Rule as Kip Dynamite, who in real life was a friend of Jared Hess from the university days, Tina Majorino as Deb, who was a child actor in the 90s starring in many movies like Waterworld, and Sandy Martin as Grandma Dynamite, who I'll always know as Mac's mum in It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Number 7. The famous curly do caused issues. So a standout physical attribute of the character Napoleon Dynamite is his curly hair. The curly hair and glasses is often a look associated with movie nerds, but unlike the movie nerd stereotype, it was never intended for Napoleon to be a genius or someone technologically gifted. Director Jared Hess said that Napoleon may be getting good grades at school, but not the best grades. He's just basically a socially awkward kid. Now, actor John Heder played the part with curls in his hair for the short film Palooka, and decided to get the curls again for Napoleon Dynamite, as the actor's hair is naturally straight. According to Mental Floss, the night before filming was to start, Heder went out to get a perm, and the perm just came out wrong, with the actor supposedly looking like Shirley Temple, with his hair having really big curls. There was literally no time to fix up his hair professionally, so desperate measures were taken, where co-writer and wife of the director, Jerusha Hess, quickly got her cousin in to re-perm Hedda's hair and give it the required look. But because of this new perm, Hedda couldn't wash his hair for 3 weeks, and considering the hot and dry location, he supposedly had really stinky hair during the shoot, where according to Jared Hess, during the shoot, tons of flies would be flying in and out of his hair. So yeah, about that shoot. Number 6. The shoot was very hot, but fun. So the script for Napoleon Dynamite was penned by Jared Hess and his wife Jerusha Hess, and they based a lot of what happens in the movie on their own childhoods, particularly involving the characters Napoleon and Deb. This film had a lot of investors, with the movie being backed by 20th Century Fox, Paramount Pictures, United International Pictures, and MTV Films. The shoot took place at Preston, Idaho, on the Utah border, giving the movie a rural look, with the middle of nowhere location giving the movie a distinct, isolated look and identity within itself. Like you could believe this whole town is socially awkward and quirky because it is in the middle of nowhere, cut off from the rest of the world. Now, if you think the scenery for Napoleon Dynamite looked dry and hot, well, that's because it was. Hess would speak about how hot it was while filming, also adding though that it was still fun shooting at the rural location. All up, the shoot only took 23 days. Given that the movie only had a $400,000 budget, there wasn't really much money to play around with. Many people who star in the movie were personal friends of Hess, and the crew got help from the town's locals, who would chime in and help with accommodation and food. And so naturally it was a very fast shoot, with things having to be done at a super fast pace. Director Jared Hess would go on to describe the shoot of Napoleon Dynamite as a bunch of friends getting together and making a movie, without knowing if people would even like the movie. Number 5. The story behind the dance scene. So a standout moment in Napoleon Dynamite is when we see Napoleon bust out some killer moves on stage to the song Canned Heat by Jamiroquai at the class election speech. It's honestly strangely mesmerizing, like you can't take your eyes off his dance moves. Once you start watching him bust out his moves, reality as you know it is on a whole other level. Definitely the coolest dance I've ever seen by someone wearing moon boots. Well, the dance scene was shot simply because actor John Heder just simply liked to dance. And because the crew still had one roll of film left, they decided to use that roll to film Heder bust out some moves. So, simple as that, they started filming and left Heder to start dancing his ass off. But it was also slightly nerve-wracking too, as it had to be done right, as due to the movie's tiny budget, it would have been difficult to get another roll of film. While filming that scene, Hedda also danced to alternative songs that may have been used in the movie, as alternatives in case they didn't end up using Canned Heat, including fellow Jamiroquai song Little L and Michael Jackson's Off the Wall. Hedda said that there was a lot of pressure, and for the most part the dancing was improvised. And, well, Hedda danced for the scene, and danced himself into cinematic history, as this scene that was filmed simply because they had some film roll left over probably became the most iconic scene in Napoleon Dynamite. I kind of like the idea that a scene came to be simply because Hedda just wanted to dance. Hey, I guess that guy really likes to dance. Number 4, Napoleon Dynamite has a slightly ambiguous time setting. So the first time I watched Napoleon Dynamite, I couldn't help but feel like the movie looks really retro. Well, this was done by design, as the movie is full of visual callbacks, particularly to the 70s, 80s and 90s, thanks to fashion choices like a side ponytail, Napoleon's moon boots, the prom dress with puffy sleeves, and the use of old VCRs and Walkmans. That and the movie's score does sound like 80s synth pop. All this mixed in with more modern songs of that time like Backstreet Boys, Larger Than Life, and as mentioned, Jamiroquai's Canned Heat. Heck, one thing that stood out to me in a lot of the promotional photos, there was what looked like 70s wallpaper in the background. Hess explained that this was done to show how from his own experiences in growing up in a small town, things were more functional and that fashion doesn't matter. I guess it goes with the rural aspect of the movie and how cut off and isolated from the rest of the world it is, adding a sense of geographical isolation and social isolation. I guess that in a town that the rest of the world forgot, they may not be up to speed with the current thing and may choose what's efficient and what works over what is a popular fashionable trend. Or at least that's what I take away. It kind of makes the setting aged, but timeless at the same time. However, these visual hints to previous time periods would lead to troubles in the production. Number 3. The titles had to be created because people were confused. So, originally, Napoleon Dynamite didn't have a title sequence. The movie just started. I guess adding to the slightly art house non-conventional feel of the movie. However, when test audiences saw the movie, they were really confused as to when the movie takes place, for the reasons as mentioned. And Fox wanted something added early in the film that states that Napoleon Dynamite is taking place in current day, which was 2004, in order to stop the confusion. And it was KIP actor Aaron Rule who suggested adding a title sequence which shows hands removing items from a table which displays the cast and crew's credits, where to show exactly when the movie is set, we see Napoleon's student card, which clearly has printed on it 2004 to 2005. So, problem solved. The title sequence was filmed 8 months after the main filming took place, and it was filmed in the basement of cinematographer Mun Powell. But the problems weren't over yet, as originally John Hedda himself used his own hands in the sequence, and when the title sequence was shown to executives at Fox, one executive thought that Hedda's hands looked a little funky. So Fox sent out a hand model to refilm the sequence. But it was felt that the hand shade of the model's hands didn't match John Hedda's. So they then used 3 different takes spliced together to make it look like 3 different people were handling the credits, including scenes from Hedda's takes, one using the hand model and another using the hands of one of the movie's producers. Number 2, the short-lived animated series. Now, for the longest time, there have been words and whispers of a Napoleon Dynamite sequel. Personally, I don't think that's necessary. I think Napoleon Dynamite as a movie is so unique and so much its own thing, it just works better as a one and done movie. Any more, and it kind of loses its eccentric flair and appeal that makes it so special. If it gets sequels, it's no longer its own unique thing, it's now doing what everyone else is doing. That and other legacy sequels based on comedy movies have been forgettable at best and really disliked at worst. You know, why poke the bear? It's just not worth it. However, there was something of a follow-up in the form of an animated series. The series debuted in 2012 and was co-developed by Mike Scully, who previously worked on The Simpsons, and the cast all returned to lend their voices. The series takes place after the movie and is set around the day-to-day events of Napoleon and all those who are part of his life, including Pedro and Deb. Initially, the show got positive reviews from critics who were happy to go back to the eccentric world of Napoleon Dynamite. Despite this though, Fox cancelled the series due to a lack of a consistent schedule, with the show bouncing around into different time slots. And so, sadly, for fans who were enjoying the animated adventures of Napoleon Dynamite, the series only lasted 6 episodes. I swear, I didn't even know about the cartoon till now. It supposedly was shown here in Australia on the Comedy Channel, but no one told me about it. Or Sebi. Yep, it was crickets on my end. Clearly, I didn't get the memo. Bonus entry: musical ties to another movie. So the music for Napoleon Dynamite was provided by John Swihart, who would go on to provide music for the TV show How I Met Your Mother. Interestingly though, you know that upbeat music we hear at the end of the movie, you know, the music that sounds like this? Well, this is actually a rendition of the main musical theme from a 1986 Australian movie called Malcolm. The piece of music itself is called Music for a Found Harmonium, and it was performed by a band called Penguin Cafe Orchestra. And it's interesting that the song is featured in both Napoleon Dynamite and Malcolm, because like Napoleon Dynamite, the movie Malcolm is also about a socially awkward guy who communicates through his own unique social quirks. So with the inclusion of using a piece of music from Malcolm makes me think that someone in the production of Napoleon Dynamite must have been a fan of Malcolm and wanted to draw parallels between the two movies. After all, both movies have positive messages about people who have communication quirks. Either that or someone in Napoleon Dynamite's production just really liked Music for a Found Harmonium and wanted to use it. Simple as that. And if that is the case, then what are the odds of the song featuring in 2 movies about eccentric, socially detached characters who have their own unique way of talking and walking and presenting themselves? Number 1. Box Office Dynamite. Napoleon Dynamite was released commercially in June 2004, and despite being given a limited release, it was very financially successful, with it making just over $46 million on its $400,000 budget. It became an instant phenomenon as it got widespread praise from critics and fans who just really gravitated to this movie, with it becoming a voice of the generation and a landmark of its time, and one of the most influential movies of the 2000s. And a movie which is still highly celebrated and considered one of the greatest comedies of all time. This movie was a big deal, and due to the popularity of Napoleon Dynamite, the sentence, "Vote for Pedro," was everywhere, becoming part of the pop cultural landscape. Everyone went mad over this sentence at the time. It was definitely Napoleon Dynamite's "May the Force Be With You" equivalent, and sales for Vote for Pedro shirts had skyrocketed. And still to this day, eager fans flock to Napoleon Dynamite's filming locations, particularly the Dynamite household. Over the years, people have tried to analyse Napoleon Dynamite to try and figure out what the real meaning behind the movie was. I mean, there is a lot of ambiguity. What is it trying to say? And what is it that people just love so damn much about it? After all, the movie has a lot of ambiguity as to what its actual meaning and intentions could be. Well, to me, it's a colourful and surreal exploration into socially awkward people. Not just Napoleon Dynamite, but many of the characters display unique quirks, to the point where it could be argued that some of these characters, if not all of them, may even be on the spectrum. But that's okay, it's a respectful exploration. The movie has a positive message about social awkwardness and going beyond social expectations, especially expectations that those around us sometimes imprison us with. It's a tale of people who have social difficulties, who are outcasts, but can still achieve great things and lead wonderful, unique lives, regardless of obstacles that try to put them down. So to conclude, I feel that this brilliant movie is all about seeing the beauty in social awkwardness, and to still be able to love your life regardless. Don't let others try to stop you or put you down. Live your best life. No matter what, be you. Because, at the end of the day, you are brilliant. One thing I really like about the Napoleon Dynamite character is that he's not perfect, and he does have some unlikable traits. He's just a kid who doesn't quite realise how socially awkward he is and just wants to be cool, just like any other kid. But this still creates a compelling character study. It's like this. Imagine if you have a glass. It's just a normal, boring-ass glass. Now you go stick a flower in that glass, or heck, even a twig, with no rhyme or reason, and suddenly you have something that looks interesting. You have created something interesting out of the mundane. That's how I see Napoleon Dynamite. It's finding beauty and interest in things where we normally wouldn't see it, which opens our minds to the possibility of wonderful things that we would otherwise just ignore. Anyway, I'm Minty. And vote for Pedro. See ya!